Welcome to episode 17 of the Ulysses Unlocked podcast, where we analyze Ulysses by James Joyce one page at a time. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment to support us. Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at, well, really just two pages today, pages 23 and 24 from the Nestor episode of Ulysses.
That's right. It's that moment where Stephen Dedalus is just wrapping up his teaching duties at the school.
And on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? End of the lesson, boys getting ready to leave.
Absolutely mundane. Boys asking questions, packing their bags. But this is Joyce, so of course, it's packed.
It's a portal.
Exactly. It's this incredibly dense gateway. Our task really is to unpack everything Stephen is thinking and feeling in these few minutes, the whole universe.
We're talking philosophy, history, personal trauma, all crammed in.
Yeah, we go from Milton's poetry straight into Aristotle's metaphysics.
Then a quick jump to, what, Southeast Asian politics?
Believe it or not, yes. Then back to Christian theology, and it all culminates in this really weird Irish folk riddle.
Which somehow acts as a key to his psychology and the novel's structure. It's just wild.
Astonishingly layered. And it all starts with this immediate classroom tension. The boys are getting fidgety.
Right. Common and Talbot pipe up. They want a story.
Not just any story, a ghost story, sir.
And that request immediately hits a nerve for Stephen, doesn't it? Because he's already haunted.
Precisely. The text makes it clear he's constantly thinking about his mother's ghost, the one Mulligan accused him of, well, essentially killing. So a simple spooky story isn't simple for him at all.
He carries his own ghost. So when he says after, pushing them off.
He's choosing, isn't he? He's putting off the easy entertainment the world wants because he's grappling with something much deeper, much more painful, his own internal ghost story.
The confrontation with suffering over a simple narrative.
Yeah. And the lesson he's finishing sets the stage perfectly for that internal suffering. It's all about loss and water.
The Elegiac lesson. We shift to Milton's Lycidas.
Stephen opens another book, and we get this famous pastoral elegy from 1637, written for Edward King, Milton's friend who drowned.
Drowning again. It's a constant theme. Talbot, the swarthy boy, reads the lines.
Weep no more, woeful shepherds. Weep no more for Lycidas, your sorrow is not dead, sunk though he be beneath the watery floor.
And that line, sunk though he be beneath the watery floor, it just resonates, doesn't it? It connects Milton right back to the Dublin present.
Absolutely, because we know from Telemachus there's that drowned man everyone expects to wash up after 9 days.
And Stephen will actually echo that exact Milton line later, won't he?
Yes, in Proteus, when he's imagining them pulling the body out. He thinks it almost mockingly. Sunk though he be beneath the watery floor, we have him. Easy now.
So the high poetic grief of Milton crashes right into the grim reality of a decomposing body on Sandy Mount Strand. Art versus life.
That core tension. But Milton's poem doesn't just end in despair. Talbot keeps reading.
And gets to the Christian part. The hope.
Through the dear might of him that walked the waves.
Jesus Christ walking on the Sea of Galilee. Matthew 14. The ultimate rescue from drowning, from death by water.
Right. So we move from pagan sorrow to Christian salvation. In that specific image, him that walked the waves.
That's the trigger.
That's the trigger for Stephen's mind to just leap away from faith toward pure intellect, towards Aristotle.
And this is where, you really need to hold on tight. It gets incredibly dense.
Right after the Christ reference, Stephen thinks, it must be a movement then, an actuality of the possible is possible.
Which sounds like philosophical jargon.
It is, kind of. It's a piece of Aristotle's definition of change or motion from his physics. The idea that change isn't just being or not being, but the process of something potential becoming actual.
And why does that grab Stephen right then?
I think because it speaks to his own artistic struggle, right?
Okay.
The potential artist trying to actualize his work. It's about pure intellectual drive making things happen.
So it leads him deeper into Aristotle.
Immediately, to the tri-mover in the Metaphysics. The ultimate source of all motion, the purely intellectual being. Stephen quotes the definition. Thought is the thought of thought.
Noesis noesis.
Exactly. God thinking about God's own thinking. Pure, self-contained intellect.
Which must appeal hugely to Stephen's sense of isolation and, let's be honest, his ego, the self-sufficient artist God.
It justifies it, in a way, and then he broadens it from God to the human mind, using another Aristotelian idea from De Anima, on the soul.
The soul is, in a manner, all that is. The soul is the form of forms.
It's
Okay, unpack that one for us. Form of forms.
this idea that the human mind isn't just a blank slate receiving sense data. It actively shapes reality by grasping the intelligible essences, the forms of things. The mind can essentially contain the structure of the whole world.
So for Stephen, this means his mind, his soul, can literally encompass and shape the entirety of Irish experience into art.
Precisely. It's the philosophical justification for his massive artistic ambition. His mind can become the container, the form, for the epic he wants to write. That's why these abstract phrases feel so vital to him.
And Joyce doesn't leave it abstract. He ties this peak intellectual moment to a very specific memory.
The Library of Saint Genevieve in Paris. Reading night by night. That intense feeling of clarity, tranquil brightness, form of forms, is rooted in that physical place.
And the description of the library itself is key, isn't it? The light and dark.
Absolutely critical. Apparently it was this grand building, but famously poorly lit overall. Students relied on these little individual glow lamps at their desks,
Creating pockets of light in a vast darkness.
which becomes the perfect metaphor for how Stephen understands Aristotle's idea of the active intellect.
The part of the mind that acts like light, turning potential thoughts into actual knowledge.
Yeah, so the physical lamplight in the dark library transforms in Stephen's memory into this inner tranquility, sudden, vast, candescent. It's the light of reason, the active intellect, which Aristotle considered immortal and everlasting.
It gives his lonely studying this eternal significance, but he doesn't stay in the light for long.
No, that candescent moment is immediately shadowed. The darkness of the library, maybe its cave-like feel, reminds him of the darkness within his own mind.
And in my mind's darkness, a sloth of the underworld, reluctant, shy of brightness, shifting her dragon scaly folds.
Wow, what an image.
And that image isn't just random, it's another deep literary connection, right? Pulling us away from Aristotle.
Definitely. It really strongly echoes William Blake.
The marriage of heaven and hell.
Yeah, it's the one.
Yeah.
Blake has these dragon men in his printing house in hell, which for Blake isn't a place of sin, but of energy, creation, forbidden knowledge.
So Stephen is doing that Nietzschean thing, the transvaluation of value.
Exactly. Flipping the script. Standard Christianity. Light is good. Truth. God. Darkness is bad. Sin. Ignorance.
But Stephen embraces the darkness.
He embraces the dragon scaly folds. He's saying, like Blake, that the hellish parts, passion, energy, maybe even anger and guilt are vital. They're part of the creative force. He needs that darkness.
He can't just have the pure, clean light of Aristotle. He needs the messy, complex, dark energy, too. Like he's trying to rewrite the Gospel of John where the darkness couldn't comprehend the light. Stephen wants the darkness to comprehend, to be the source.
A unified vision that includes the shadow. It's fundamental to his aesthetic.
And then, just as we're deep in Blake and Hellfire and Aristotelian metaphysics,
Joyce throws in this tiny, almost throwaway detail from the Paris Library memory.
the delicate Siamese student
Sitting nearby, reading a handbook of strategy.
seems completely random, but it's not, is it?
Not at all. It plugs Stephen's very personal internal struggle into global politics. Siam, modern Thailand, was right then fighting for its survival against French and British colonial pressure.
Losing territory under huge threat.
Immense threat. So here's this student, physically located in Paris, the heart of one of the empires squeezing his homeland,
Studying Western strategy.
using the enemy's intellectual tools to figure out how to resist them.
And that's the parallel.
That's the exact parallel to Stephen's own situation in Ireland. He wants to write the great Irish epic, a declaration of cultural independence.
But he has to do it using the English language, the language and literary tradition of the colonizer.
He's forced to use the master's tools to try to dismantle the master's house, just like the Siamese student. It's a brilliant, tiny detail that broadens the scope enormously. It shows Stephen's struggle isn't just personal or Irish, it's part of a global pattern of resistance.
Joyce's canvas is always bigger than just Dublin. Okay, so from global strategy, we swing back again. Back to Christ.
Yeah, Stephen's mind returns to the influence of the church. Here also over these craven hearts his shadow lies, on the scoffer's heart and lips, and on mine. Even on him, the doubter.
Which leads him to think about that famous biblical encounter.
The coin of the tribute, Matthew 22. The Pharisees trying to trap Jesus.
The classic political dilemma: pay taxes to Caesar or not, side with Rome or incite rebellion.
A perfect trap. Collaborate and lose the people, or resist and face Roman justice.
And Jesus' answer is just genius political maneuvering.
Sublime. He asks for the coin, points to Caesar's image, and delivers that killer line. Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's.
It's brilliant because it doesn't give a straight answer. It acknowledges both secular power and divine authority, but leaves this huge space for interpretation.
Ambiguity as a tool of subversion. But Stephen thinks the church has ruined that.
How so?
He sees them taking this complex, riddling sentence and just flattening it out, weaving it into simple, safe doctrine for the craven hearts.
To be woven and woven on the church's looms.
And that weaving metaphor is key. He used it before, didn't he?
In Telemachus, yeah. Condemning heretics and false thinkers as those who weave the wind.
So for Stephen, the church takes the radical ambiguity of Jesus' thought and turns it into something predictable, manufactured, insubstantial, like weaving air.
He respects the original riddle, but despises the institutional interpretation. He prefers the difficult truth of Aristotle or Blake to the church's easy answers.
Right. And that tension between the difficult riddle and the simple answer leads us directly to the end of the lesson. The bell rings, hockey calls.
And Stephen poses his own riddle. Who can answer a riddle?
But first, there's that fragment he doesn't ask.
Riddle me, Randy Rowe. My father gave me seeds to sow.
Why does he stop himself there?
Because the answer to that one is writing a letter. And Stephen at this point sees himself as a failed writer. He hasn't sown the seeds, hasn't written the great work. It's too close to home.
A painful reminder of his own artistic paralysis. So he moves on to the main event. The boys are restless.
And he gives them this one. The cock crew, the sky was blue, the bells in heaven were striking 11. 'Tis time for this poor soul to go to heaven.
It sounds almost like a sentimental nursery rhyme or a hymn. Very pious.
The boys have no clue. They give up. And Stephen drops the bombshell answer.
The fox burying his grandmother under a holly bush.
It's just stops everything. Confusion, then nervous laughter.
And the spell is broken. The boys are out the door. Hockey attend, sir. Half day, sir. Thursday. Back to the real world.
So we have to unpack that answer. The fox and the grandmother. What is going on there?
There are layers, as always. The first and maybe most obvious interpretation hinges on the fact that Stephen changed the riddle.
How so?
The traditional Irish folk version has the fox burying his mother.
Ah, mother, not grandmother.
Right, so changing it to grandmother looks like a psychological defense.
Connected to his guilt about his own mother's death, the accusation Mulligan threw at him.
Exactly, the terrible guilt.
Yeah.
By saying grandmother, he can express the act of burying the maternal figure, severing that tie, but with a slight buffer, its displacement, expressing the trauma indirectly.
And the fox image keeps popping up in relation to this guilt, doesn't it?
All the time. He thinks of a fox scraping on a heath when contemplating death. Later, in Proteus, he sees a dog digging on the beach and thinks, something he buried there, his grandmother. The fox dog is this guilty, secretive, burying creature.
And in Circe, it becomes totally explicit.
Yes, in that nightmare sequence, he slightly alters the riddle again and says, thirsty fox, burying his grandmother, probably he killed her. The link between the fox, burial, and matricidal guilt is made crystal clear.
So that's the psychoanalytic reading, guilt, defense mechanism. But you said there's another layer.
There is, a structural reading. This view suggests the change isn't just Stephen protecting himself, but Joyce, the author, making a deliberate symbolic move.
Okay, how does that work?
It focuses on the name. It suggests the grandmother might refer specifically to Joyce's own paternal grandmother, whose name was Helena O'Connell, often called Ellen.
Helena, as in Helen of Troy.
Precisely. By subtly seeding the name Helena into the text via this bizarre riddle, Joyce might be laying the groundwork for the novel's entire Homeric parallel. The idea that the central drama Boylan invading the Bloom household mirrors the Greeks attacking Troy with Molly Bloom as Helen.
Wow, so the archetype is being planted right here under the surface.
Buried, you might say, like the grandmother, and it connects back to that Paris library thought.
Sheltered from the sin of Paris.
Which links Paris, the city, to Paris the prince who stole Helen. Stephen, by identifying with the fox, the guilty barrier, is implicitly acknowledging this foundational myth, this story of betrayal that triggers the epic.
So the riddle is doing double duty. It's a confession of personal guilt and a coded signal about the novel's Homeric structure.
That's the argument. It links Stephen's individual trauma to the grand classical framework, and Joyce reinforces this immediately.
Wow.
In the very next scene, talking to Mr. Deasy, Deasy goes on that infamous rant about history being ruined by women, and who does he name?
Helen, the runaway wife of Menelaus, who caused the Trojan War.
Exactly. Joyce puts the Helen archetype front and center right after Stephen buries Helena in the riddle. It's like a confirmation.
It's just incredible, the density. From a simple request for a ghost story, we've gone through Milton, Aristotle, Blake, Siamese strategy, Jesus and Caesar, and ended it with a folk riddle that's both a key to Stephen's psyche and the novel's architecture.
It really does demonstrate Stephen's own idea, the mind, as the form of forms, capable of holding all this simultaneously. High philosophy and low folklore, personal guilt, and epic structure.
But the punchline is, nobody gets it.
Right. He delivers this incredibly loaded riddle, the culmination of all that intense thought, and the boys just want to play hockey.
Hockey at 10, sir. Hack day, sir. His complex message completely bounces off the reality of schoolboy life.
And Stephen's reaction to that dismissal is noted in the text. He lets out a shout of nervous laughter.
Nervous laughter. That feels significant. What do you think that signifies?
Well, that leads us to the final thought, doesn't it? For you, the listener, to consider. Stephen's whole project is about using intellect and art to overcome his guilt, his paralysis. But the world just shrugs and goes off to play games.
So is that nervous laughter a sign of defeat? A moment of tragic recognition that his deep, complex art is maybe irrelevant to the world he wants to reach?
Or is it the opposite? Is the laughter a sign of a small victory? By giving that completely absurd, unexpected answer, the fox, the grandmother, he did manage to break the routine, didn't he? He shattered the predictable classroom mood with a blast of dark, weird poetry.
He swapped logical, philosophical insight for sheer, unsettling nonsense.
So, what's ultimately more powerful for the artist Stephen wants to be? Is it the clear, structured, eternal logic of Aristotle's form of forms, that quest for pure, understandable truth?
Or is it the messy, guilt-ridden, anarchic energy found in the nonsense of the fox and the holly bush, the very absurdity that somehow unlocks the novel's deepest symbolic and psychological layers?
That tension between the philosopher seeking clarity and the artist embracing the dark, messy riddle, that's really what drives Stephen and perhaps the whole book. Which path holds the real power?